Forster is a New South Wales coastal town just over 300 kilometres north of Sydney. It's about 3.5 hours by car, 6.5 hours by public transport, and 17 hours on your push bike. When you first arrive, you could be drawn to think it's a reasonably large town, divided by a bridge. But it is in fact two towns side by side, Forster and its neighbourhood town, Tuncurry. According to the census, Tuncurry is the smaller of the two, but the strip shopping appears larger because Forster's shops are a bit scattered. The original Forster Township is now more like a tourist district. Just slightly removed is the new shopping complex, where you'll find the council buildings, community centre, library, all the supermarkets, the banks, and a great many more shops. Forster has the more popular beaches and the greater access to the vast waterways. It also has the high waterfront cliffs where the whale lookouts are. Plus it has canal living for those who like to moor their boats at home, and it has direct access to the wonderful southern beaches and waterways. It also seems to have the beachfront apartment rental property market pretty well stitched up. On the left of the beach is the ocean baths. About 60 metres long, they're still the same as the day they opened in 1936. The ocean-fed pool is well maintained by the council, who scrub it out completely once a month. The locals call it the bull ring. I've got no idea why. If you duck down on winter Sunday mornings, you can often be lucky enough to see the mud crab swimmers whipping through the waters. On most days, you'll see the Amaroo whale watching boat go gliding by. If you're into diving, there are plenty of places to visit, both locally and offshore. The dolphins are always good entertainment, sometimes herding fish in the waves, but mostly often just playing around in the river. Apparently there's about 250 to 300 of them in this area. Most of the time they can be found just playing around, but when they get the urge, like when feeding, they can get up to speeds of about 40k or more, making them some of the fastest dolphins in the world. The Marina is well located and serviced with barbecues, toilets, fish scaling stations and a boat ramp. The Pelicans are not silly. They know when dinner is about to be served. No need to be in a hurry though. All they need to do is keep an eye on the fishermen, then wait patiently just near the cleaning station. They've done it a million times before, so they know that good things come to those who wait. The fish cleaning gets them lined up and into position, ready for the meal to start.
We dropped one about twice that size.
Oh really?
Right at the side of the bloody boat. Oh!
Seal Rocks is an excellent day trip from Forster. It's well known for having wonderful surfing beaches and also the Sugarloaf Point Lighthouse. Seal Rocks was named after the Australian fur seals that were often seen on the rocks near the lighthouse. Once you get to the car park, the walk up to the lighthouse is about 3/4 of a kilometre. It's a nice walk where you get to have glimpses of the sea as it moves through cuttings in the rocks. Sugarloaf Point is another top spot for whale watchers as they migrate on their journey along the coast. You might also be lucky enough to see dolphins down on Lighthouse Beach. The first thing you come to is the 3 adjoining cottages and various outbuildings. They are the lighthouse keepers' quarters and are located just below the lighthouse. All have been refurbished to a high standard and are offered as holiday accommodation for visitors. On the grassy slopes next to the lookout point and cliff edge, you'll see 3 memorials dedicated to people associated with the lighthouse. In 1865, it was recommended a light be placed to highlight the treacherous Seal Rocks. Originally, they intended to place the lights on the rocky outcrop itself, but working on the rocks proved difficult, so they decided to build it on the headland. The tower is constructed of rendered brick, one of only 2 towers in Australia with an external stairway. The Sugarloaf Point light was first lit in 1875. In 1923 it was converted from kerosene to acetylene gas. It was electrified in 1966 and in 1987 it was fully automated. Sugarloaf is the second most easterly lighthouse in Australia, after the Byron Bay Lighthouse. It was originally built because a number of unfortunate ships had been wrecked along this part of the coast. As luck would have it, even though the lighthouse has remained in operation since its inception, more than 20 ships have still been wrecked. So is it just the distance from Sydney Harbour where they all start to get a bit overconfident, or some of them maybe think they can shortcut across the rocks? Heading back to Forster, I spotted one of these things. Now, I'm far removed from any knowledge about bird species. The best I can do is advise that one end is sharp and dangerous and the other end that looks like a feather duster is where the poop comes out. A passing Canadian tourist assured me that it was an osprey, also called a seahawk, because it spends most of its day hunting fish. Check out the claws. I mean, it normally kills fish that are about 25 to 35 centimetres long and about 150 to 300 grams. But it is capable of killing anything up to about 2 kilos in weight, or about 4.4 pounds as a Canadian put it. Osprey have many special features that make them great fishermen. For one, their eyesight is specifically adapted to detect underwater objects from the air, which is handy because these birds hover at anything up to about 40 metres high and plunge down feet first into the water. And number 2, they have reversible outer toes that act like a thumb when grabbing fish. And 3, they have a sharp needle on the underside of the toes for sort of spearing into the fish. And number 4, they've got nostrils that close to keep the water out. Hey, how cool is that? Number 5, they've got backwards facing scales on their talons which act like lots of small barbs to help hold onto the catch when they've got it. And number 6, they've got super oily feathers that prevent it from getting waterlogged in any way. Osprey nests are mostly made from sticks, driftwood and seaweed, and can be as wide as 2 metres. They should get the award for recycling though, because they usually just renovate the same nest that they used last season. Another place to check out is the Green Cathedral. Mention it and some of the locals may point aimlessly south and then tell you it's about a 15-minute drive down the lake's way, which is correct, but although it's reasonably well known, it's not that easy to find and really easy to drive past. The location is actually in Booty Booty National Park, and the pathway entrance is clearly marked with a sign that says GC. If you get that far, you're okay. It's not too far down the path before you come upon this incredible little spot, nestled in the trees right on the shoreline of Lake Wallace. Cathedrals may be a bit of a stretch. I think it'd be more appropriate to call it chapel. But there is a real sense of magic about the place, with the sun making moving shadows through the canopy of trees. It was originally constructed back in 1922, with all the building materials being transported by barge from Tuncurry to the site. The first service was in December of 1922, with over 250 people in attendance, and apart from the introduction of some power and a small PA system, the place has remained as first built. In 1957, an enormous fire tore through the area. The little chapel was engulfed from all angles, and it seemed impossible that the historic spot would be saved. But when the fire was out, lo and behold, there was a little chapel completely untouched. You can draw your own conclusions over that one. The lake is reasonably shallow. You can walk out about 100 metres and it wouldn't get much over your knees. So people being baptised in the lake would feel quite safe. Plus, got the added bonus that in later summer months it's incredibly warm and salty, so you wouldn't mind if your baptism turned into a swim. The chapel is regularly used for weddings, baptisms, funeral services and the like. If you feel like taking in a real bit of ambience of the place, they have a regular 10 a.m. Sunday service. Although I could imagine that a long sit on one of those rough timbered pews could take a slight toll on your undercarriage. When the late afternoon draws the sun away for the night and the waters become calm, it's a truly wonderful place to end your day.